Hello, hello, hello. Hope everybody's day has been good. So far, it's been good to me. I hope it has been good to you. It hasn't been too crazy for me. I slept in. I was really tired. I just started working at Chick-fil-A again, but we'll get into that later. I worked there for 3 days, and that kind of cooked me, so I slept in today. I went to sleep at like 1 a.m. last night, but I woke up, I made like 6 eggs, had a banana, went out, cleaned my car. I got my glasses fixed. I like sat on them and like kind of cracked the frames a little bit or bent them, and I was trying to bend it back and it just broke the frames. It's a cheap pair of glasses. I gotta get an upgrade. One thing I'm expecting to be a problem in this video is me getting out of breath. There is so much I want to talk about. It is not even funny. I'm kind of nervous because it's like I'm overthinking it a little bit in my head. I know I just need to click the record button and just open my mind and just sort of, do one thing at a time. So that's exactly what I'm planning to do. My phone's at 23%. I only have enough for one take. So this one's gonna work out. It's gonna have to work out. Um, One thing I have been doing, and I miss doing this working at Chick-fil-A, is whenever I get off work, coming home and stretching, just sort of trying to chill out, because working in kitchens, that one in particular, it's very high pace. It's a high stress environment. Emotions are running high. It's just, it's a, high stress environment. So I like to come home and stretch. Your body gets sort of used and abused throughout the day. So you just want to go home and treat it right. And that's kind of how I got started on this fitness journey, was at Chick-fil-A. So I'm kind of circling back to it. As I said in the post, if you read the post, I'm going to be doing an active recovery day, just a bunch of light movements. I'm going to be doing a little bit of shoulder work because I have done a good job at opening up the shoulders and the back just through like breath work and yoga and whatnot. In this video, I am going to be doing what I think is a form of yoga, or at least ideas of yoga sort of imbued into other forms or other whatever the hell. Not trying to overcomplicate it here. I just have no clue what I'm doing. So, gonna be doing some yoga, breath work, light stretching, light movement, just to get the body sort of flowing. I'll start out with what I think is a form of yoga, or maybe as a move in yoga. It just feels like it has that theme in there. I should have left my wallet and keys inside. I didn't realize I still had it in my pockets. Let's just throw it right there for now. My back's feeling really tight, so I can't wait to get started on that. Also, as I'm moving around, my fucking hips feel tight. So I'm just gonna do this, switch to the other side, do that side. Real quick, nothing crazy. One thing that I'm trying to do whenever I do these movements is not tense up too much. I feel like that's always been a, let me make sure I'm recording first off, because I really do only have one take. Check, check, check. That's what I'm recording on, by the way. All right. So, where was I? Yeah, so I've been like trying to stay loose and limber as I move, because one thing I do a lot is, like, since I don't know how to properly like breathe and brace in this area down below, I carry a lot of tension up top. Like, let's say for example, when I used to sit in this position, and I still kind of do it now, and I'm trying not to do it actively as I speak, is whenever I'm like back here, I would over engage my shoulders, and that would be my stabilizer. It would be my hands that move everything. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be your abdomen and your legs doing the work, and your upper back actually relaxing. so that it can allow for that movement. You know, it's supposed to be guided by breath. That's the idea of yoga in there. I think that's, you know, like a common theme in yoga. That's why I say it's yoga. I don't know what it is, but I'm learning it's very important to move the body around the breath, essentially. So I'll get started now that I'm done doing that. I got a nice little moving blanket laid down on some pine straw so I could sit outside. It's a beautiful day. It's 1 o'clock right now, not a damn cloud in the sky. So first off, what I like to start doing is whenever I get off work, my legs are really tired and my upper back is really tired. My shoulders are really stiff and my hips are stiff, you know, legs tired, hips stiff. So I do this to sort of like relax the legs a little bit, open up the hips a little bit. So that's what we're gonna do. I believe this is called like the frog pose or something like that. But we're just now sinking back into the hips. And now we're just gonna let the hands go forward. What's gonna be a little interesting is normally I'm used to doing this on like I hope you can see me actually. This is gonna be tricky. Let me just check the camera angle real quick. I don't want to get my feet dirty, but that's okay. I just want to see if I can see the blanket on the camera, which I easily can. Okay, no problem at all. Gotcha. Let me clean off my feet before I get back on here. All right. So again, back to opening up the hips, letting the legs just sort of chillax. There's a root right there, so it's a little uncomfortable. That's all right. And just now letting the shoulders relax and everything relax. You kind of want the elbows to, like, as you breathe and you're sinking into this position, to want to like naturally sort of slide forward as you get deeper and deeper into this position. Again, there's another root there, so it's like kind of messing with me, but that's all right. And I'm just sort of, now I'm just gonna lean on this right side a little bit. I'm just feeling it out. This isn't what I do every time. It's not exactly the same every time, but it's this general idea. Feeling pretty tight. And I know this may not seem like a big deal, but it is to me. I used to not be able to be in this position at all, let alone be able to sink into the individual side. I'm still getting like some slight shoulder pain whenever I like lean, but it's really not too big of a deal. All right. Now we're gonna spread the arms out, and I'll just start with the general movement. The movement. I don't need to use the word general there. And you want to plant the hands and then just rotate on the outside. You kind of want to stretch the shoulder a little bit right here as you're moving. And then as you come up, you don't want to keep the elbow low. You want to keep it high as you come over here. And then you want to like sort of sink into that shoulder. And right here, my hand, I can feel it's not far out enough because I'm actually trying to open up this area on the right side and then push and breathe into that area. So it's like I'm moving my hand further out. I'm keeping my elbow high so that I can push and then open that area up and breathe into it. And then whenever I get a nice stretch there and I feel like the muscles and everything is releasing, which I can feel it right now, I just go back. Reset back to this position. There's a root here, so it's a little annoying. And then do the same thing on this side again. You're like kind of stretching that back shoulder, rear delt area. And then you're coming in. And now my hands are already further apart, so I can already feel the stretch much more here. Just taking a few breaths to sort of reset. I got some good reps in here. Everything's sort of feeling much better, a little bit more loose. Still gonna take it easy, but I am about to start speeding it up. The more you do it, the more loose you feel, the more it's like kind of getting to a nice little state. And you always want to tilt your head in the direction that you're going in. It's all about symmetry. You want to make it the same on the one side that you're doing it on the other. For example, you don't want to do this, obviously. It's just a bad habit. All right. There's a lot of movement in this, so it like makes me sort of like belch a little bit. But as you're doing this too, another important aspect is we can't forget about the hips. We can't forget about the legs while we're doing this. As we're doing this, the same thing that is happening with our hands and shoulders that I was just explaining is also happening a little bit with our hips. Because as we go further out, you know, your feet might not even be on the floor. I don't really know how important that is. Maybe it's a good idea to keep the feet on the floor, but yeah, I guess it is. Don't overthink it. It doesn't really matter, but it is also important to feel that like sort of the tension in the hips as well, and try to, you know, don't compensate for anything. Don't try to like, you know, move a certain way to avoid pain in a spot. Slow it down. And if you can't do it, then just bring your knees in so it's a little bit easier. Like just do anything to make it easier, right? So like if you can't do that, for example, your hips would be the problem. So, and this is also a natural transition into another exercise that I do during this little routine, so I'll continue to do this as I explain. If your hips are tight, start with this movement right here. This is a good one. Open up the hips. Do that until you feel like there's an improvement, and you'll be able to tell that there's an improvement. Do some pulses, butterfly pulses, or any, you know, it doesn't matter, pulse or not. If you have weights, it's better to put those on your knees and hold them down. But I just grab my ankles and push down with my elbows. Right. Now let's get the glutes a little bit. And what I'm gonna do, I'm thinking about it now, because like I said, I'm just sort of doing this off the dome, so it's gonna be a little rough. I think I'm gonna cycle through my movements and then just start going into the other subjects that I want to talk about while just being on autopilot and doing these movements. So that's typically what I do. Red Bull break. While we talk about today's sponsor, they're not actually sponsored. Rip Stick, Rip Right. Using these to help with my shoulders. Looking forward to it. I can already see the results from doing it. They like really made my rear delts sore. And fuck them, because I mean that's how you're supposed to do it. I'll explain it in a little bit as best as I can. Pretty sure I tore a muscle in the hip or pulled a muscle. I'm not sure. It's been like 2 weeks and it's still like messed up and still finicky to work off of. And I've done it before on that exact same leg. So it's really annoying. And I feel like it's also affected my back too, indirectly, well, directly. I have a feeling I'm gonna be burping like crazy throughout this video. All right. So your hips might be the problem. If they are on that movement, that's kind of what you do. But the whole point of that movement is to free up the hips, you know, loosen everything up. You're trying to get rid of tension here and just breathe through it. You don't want muscles to be activated. You kind of just want everything to just slouch as your breath sort of guides everything. That's the best way I can describe it. So we got that. And the reason why I start with that is that exercise right there, or movement, is to specifically help with this right here, the knots in this area, the tightness that I experience in that shoulder and whatnot. I do it to help with that. And the reason why is so that I can transition to this next movement. I forgot the name, but you've seen it before. It's one that I've been working towards for a long time, and I can finally sort of start to do it. It's still, I'm in a finicky period where it's like I can do it, but I can feel my body wanting to lock up. It's not natural, but I can kind of do it. So that's what I'm gonna cycle into. Next, excuse me. I want to kind of like show it from an angle where you can see, even though you understand it. I do not know why I'm so tired, man. All right. So the way that I do it, and this is actually at an angle, so I think I am gonna do this straight, or maybe I'll try this way. Nope, gotta do it straight. But it's basically the whole point of what you're trying to do with the movement is this. Your legs should be straighter. Everything should be a little bit more symmetrical than that. That's the general idea of what you're trying to do. Whenever I try this movement, I typically, as I've addressed in past videos, and I'm still dealing with this problem, is again, the tension in this area, the knots up here. So I do that first movement to help address the knots up here and make it feel a little bit more relaxed. And then, since there's still tension and tightness in this area, I can feel when I'm doing this movement at the first period, when you're transitioning from on the ground to going up, my lower back, it's just not as secure. It doesn't feel properly braced. And on that right side, I can feel an achiness, and I just feel tension, and I feel like a dull ache there. And you're not supposed to feel that. The whole point of this movement is to get rid of tension and to just stretch and move the body. So what I do is I make the first part of the movement a little bit easier, and then I just spam that repeatedly until the lower back feels a little bit better. And I just try my best to keep the upper back as loose as possible while I do it. And I will show that now. Go back. Start with your legs right here. Then all you're doing is kicking off one leg and then raising the other. So kick, kick, and switching legs. This will start to light up the core pretty quick, which is a good sign. Your muscles should be getting tired here, and joints should start feeling better. It's probably better to do it slow. It could be. I don't know. I'm not perfect. This is just how I like to do it. Core's getting sore. Legs are getting tired. That lower back is starting to feel better. Less tense. I'm feeling popping in that area. Core's getting even more tired. All right. That really does get the hip flexors tired and get the core tired. Upper back is feeling a little kind of hot after that. So I'm gonna do a few more sort of shoulder stretches and movements and etc. to make it feel a little bit better until I feel comfortable doing the full movement, because that's the whole point of what we're trying to do. And I'm not going to explain the movements that I'm doing anymore or anything like that. I'm going to end it off, because after this I'll be transitioning to more talking about what I want to talk about instead of discussing what I'm doing. I don't want to just talk about that the whole time. But like I said, you're trying your best to get rid of tension. You do not want any of the movements that you're doing to carry tension. It should always feel like there is a release of some sort. And if you're doing a movement and you feel tension in one area, you should stop and do another movement to help fight that tension, to help sort of aid it, get rid of it. So, and of course the breathing and how your posture is during all of these movements is very important. You are looking to do exactly what you did on one side to the other, constantly listening and feeling things out. Why does this feel that way? Why does it feel different from that side? What can we do to fix it? I've gone through all of this before. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But now I want to talk about life, what that's been like, a little update for me, because this is a fitness channel, but the name of the channel is also my name. So I feel like I should talk about me a little bit. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this channel now that it's like I'm coming back a year later to just post, videos again. I feel like, life is a lot more than training. A lot more. And I have a lot to learn whenever it comes to life. I'll say that, So what I will say is, I spent a lot of time last year grinding, building bikes, whatnot, and then going out and doing projects on my own and kind of feeling like I had to be responsible for everybody in the family, like I had to always show up. I had to always have a smile on my face. There was a weight that I had to carry. And then I had to go into work, and, I had to be an adult. I think I really did call it whenever I said my childhood ended, whenever my dog died. I don't know if I ever said that on video. Pretty sure I have. But I called it. And I'm just having to learn that things are going to happen. And what's most important is how you respond to those things and what you make out of your situation and the meaning that you're able to extract from the situation. You can either look at it in a negative light, negative image, or you can look at it in a positive light. That's up to you. Bad things happen. Good things can come of bad things. Bad things can come of good things. It's all about how you look at it. And that's hard for me. I really do struggle. I'll try not to get emotional in this video. I should be all right. And if I do, who gives a shit? Life is life. But, I try to, at some point, I don't know where I was going earlier, so I'll just start going again. I'll say last year, like I said, that was, I was going through that, and my reaction, my response to it all wasn't exactly the healthiest, but it was all that I knew. So it's kind of what kept my head in the game. And of course, I've always been a positive person. I've always looked on the bright side. I've always been the person that, even whenever I'm in a room full of fun people having the time of my life, I'm still looking around for somebody who's not having a good time, because I want to know what's up with that dude, what's going on, how can I make him smile like the rest of us? And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, look at me. That doesn't mean anything about me. When I say that, that doesn't make me feel proud of myself. I don't know. I can't explain the feeling that it makes me. To me, it feels like a responsibility, because I've been there before, and I still am there as of current. And, we're all human. We all go through bad periods in life, and right now there's a lot of things to really be angry at, really be negative about. And that's not your fault. That's the way it's designed right now. And I'm not gonna go on any of those like little rants that try to make you feel shitty about your situation by just saying the same things everybody else says. Jeffrey Epstein, we're not allowed to say what's on our mind anymore, and this and that. God is real, and love is still in the air. Your brothers are still your brothers, and your family is still your family. You may not need to hear that, but I know I need to hear that, so I'm saying it. And yes, there are bad things happening in the world, but the more you let that consume you, the more it becomes true to you, which is why you need to stay grounded in reality, grounded with God in your heart and soul, and why you need to pray every single day. These things are important. There's a reason why it's always bashed into your head, why there's always signs everywhere. These things are real, and you can ignore these things for distractions, for things that you know are distractions. And that's what I did. And I didn't realize I was doing it, but I was still trying my best to do the right thing, and I'll explain that. I was working hard, feeling like I had to always have a smile on my face because my family's going through a rough time, and I don't want to give them one more problem to have. But this was a hard time for me, and I needed help. And the way that I dealt with that was by smoking, and worst of all, by vaping. And I actually vaped before I turned on this video. I don't even know why I do it anymore. It doesn't provide me, it's nowhere near like it used to be. It still provides a good sensation, but sometimes it's like, it can suck the life out of you a little bit. I can't describe it. It's weird. So again, I don't know why I come back to it, but it's definitely something that I'm thinking a lot more about now. I'm really starting to get serious about quitting. I'm not putting pressure on myself like I used to. I don't want that to, take over me anymore and have me, project that onto other people unknowingly, because that's what I do. I just want to accept who I am, what I do, and sincerely ask Jesus for forgiveness and hope that I can do better and be better the next day. And the only way that I can do that is by treating people better, listening to people. And I used to be a really good listener, but at some point I stopped listening just because my surroundings felt so negative. On my phone, it was just propaganda, fear-mongering, negativity, hate. And then one second. Fuck it, whatever. I'm just gonna keep talking. I feel like that's my brother. Let me check this out. I don't know what he's doing. Damn. I don't like for them to hear these things. That's why I kind of feel trapped. But I'm just gonna say it. It's like 1 second you're looking on your phone and it's everything that I just said. It's propaganda, fear-mongering. It's people going at each other's throats and necks, but never actually doing anything. Hypocrites, bots. Like, you don't even know what's real anymore, and it's all designed that way. And it's all designed to, like, suck you in and make you feel like a piece of shit. Meant to make you turn against each other. Meant to make you turn away from God. And then whenever I would put my phone down, it was just my brother who's also consumed by this, and my mother. And both of them are also going through severe health and mental health issues. So it's like, that was my life. And then I'm smoking and vaping, and then, still training throughout this, but since it was so stressful, I feel like that kind of like made me lose a little bit of the, slowed my progress. Because like I said, a lot of my training is revolved around getting rid of tension so that you can, increase mobility, fluidity, snappiness, have more stamina and endurance because you're not so tense. But whenever you're stressed and you kind of, like, for example, whenever I would smoke and vape, I would like tense up. But even after I breathed out, I would still keep the tension in my upper body. And that's one thing I've had to work on recently. Even though I'm still smoking and vaping, it's like when I vape, I make sure that I am like completely, like just like this. I'm right on my center of balance. My shoulders stay back. They do not come forward. They do not raise. They just stay dropped. Because I notice even while I do these things, I create tension. And then I carry that with me throughout the day. So it's like, because of that, I was just always in a negative headspace. And I'm not so much anymore, but now I'm like just anxious because I want to get back out there, but I don't know how. It's very weird. I'm in a weird spot right now, which is also why I went back to Chick-fil-A. It really wasn't about, well, it's about the work. I do like the work as much as I hate it, because again, when I get off of work, the stretching and everything, like it's just, your time management, everything is just, there's a real benefit. So there's that, but it's also because, the people, the atmosphere, it's a great place to work. And the people there really are fantastic. And I'm a little shut off, and that's, something I gotta work on. Because through all of this, when I'm in such a negative headspace, I kind of isolate myself and try to keep myself away from people. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want the same thing that I feel like is happening to me to happen to somebody else. I don't want to project that onto somebody else. So there's that. I got a nice little grip on this muscle right here. But yeah, point is trying to get out of my shell, trying to step back out there. And I mean, at this point, really what's left on my mind is, what am I meant for? What do I need to do? Where do I need to go? I need a plan, I know that. Because I don't have a plan anymore. I used to have a plan and I would follow that religiously, but I don't. So I'm trying to think about how. I'm going to transition into that movement now. I'm going to pop my back first. A lot of tension in that area. But anyways, as I was saying, I'm just going to hang out in this position too. Like, I know I'm meant for more. Hold on. Yeah, that shoulder's really wanting to lock up. Big time. Anyways, I'll say that I know I'm meant for more. I know that I have a purpose because I have energy, and that energy needs to be directed towards something. You know, that's the reason why you have energy, is to do something with it. And if you are not getting food and water and searching for shelter, then where else does that energy go? Where are you giving that energy? Why are you giving that energy? What is that energy? You know, I'm not trying to sound like I'm not a kook whenever I say that. Energy is real. Everybody talks about it. But that's what I kind of hate about propaganda and stuff like that, and you know, the whole divisiveness and people going for each other's throats, is it kind of creates like a voice in the back of your head where you're always worried about how somebody's going to interpret what you say. And it's fucking stupid, man. It's stupid. I'm starting to, you know, realize it more and more now. And it angers me every time I notice it, but I need to get rid of that. I need to just learn to just laugh at it. But anyways, it's an interesting world we live in. I'm just having to learn I'm having to figure out, how do I become who I want to become? And I already know the answer. It's to stop trying to figure it out, because I already figured it out, and just start doing. I have energy, and I've always loved music. It's something that I'm dedicated to, but not at all at the same time. So I need to start learning an instrument. If I stop smoking, or really stop vaping, because smoking doesn't really affect me all that much. If I stop vaping, you know, I would be able to focus a lot more, and my throat wouldn't be so, you know, hoarse all the time, a little bit. Even though it may not sound like it, I can feel it, and I can definitely tell when I sing. But if I did that, was smart with my money, started taking boxing classes, I joined a real gym, and started taking my health seriously, well then, with the same amount of time, but by simply dropping some bad habits and picking up some good ones, I could become probably a kind of decent but mostly shitty guitar player, a good singer, and probably a decent boxer in just a few months. I could see that in like half a year, without even really putting too much more, without even really putting an extra load on myself. It would simply just be dropping bad habits, being more productive with my time, and again going back to living for fulfillment instead of just trying to survive, without trying to sound grim. Life is life. Sometimes you just have to survive. You know, I'm not trying to say that to be like, oh, look at me. I know there's people out there like that. I'm not one of those people. So I'm gonna check if I'm still recording, and then we're gonna get to the last half of this video. Awesome. I don't know what percentage my phone is at. So far, so good. All right. Next thing I want to talk about, what we're doing right now, even though it's not really a effective or perfect form because I'm yapping, but kind of comes with the whole trying to record and do the thing at the same time. Active recovery days, why they're important, etc. I don't know if you can see this on camera. If not, honestly, too bad. All right. So we just did like a lot of, you know, stretching and moving. So now I'm just sort of twisting the body, moving it around. Nothing crazy. I'm not trying to rip your limbs off. Just letting everything sort of flow. And if you want to switch it up, change how you do it, you can. All right. All right. Active recovery days. The point of them and why you should do them. Why they're not stupid. First off, your body is a machine, and you cannot just slam that body and redline it every single day. It accumulates fatigue, right? And people commonly think that to get rid of fatigue, you need rest, which you do. But some people's idea of rest is wrong. Some people think that it is just sitting around, which it can be. I mean, like, I would say that they're wrong. They're right in the sense to where relaxing is a good form of rest because you're getting rid of stress, which can, when that accumulates, take a massive toll on the body. But when you are not doing any sort of active recovery or moving for your body outside of work, unless you are just some lucky genetic specimen who can avoid accumulating, that's too big of a word for me to use right now. But unless you're just somebody who can, work a crazy, not crazy, just a regular blue collar job and not get back pain, not get knee pain or shoulder pain or some issue of some kind, you should be doing movement outside of work, and not just relaxing, going out and bullshitting. So it doesn't have to necessarily be what I'm doing, but it should contain like the same aspect.